Well, that was fun. Let's talk about technology. All right, Amy and I have been having a monumental conversation about local marketing, and I did not click the go live button. Now, this has only happened to me once in my life, and it's happened to a client of mine once, and so I've decided to start over. You missed some amazing stuff, is all I got to say. Amy and I have been having the best conversation, and I apologize deeply to anybody who who, who was wondering, where are they? What happened to them? Well, we've been having this lovely private conversation. So we're gonna go ahead and start a little bit over, and Amy, we can just do this in a little more, condensed
Sure.
measure here.
I
You
got a
don't have
good
to.
warm up, a very good practice.
You don't need to say every single word that you said before, but there was some gold in there, and it's really funny. But I do want to reintroduce Amy for those of you who are not here quietly in our private conversation. And Amy, I feel so silly. Amy Morales of Capiche Marketing is a strategist, an agency owner, a researcher, and she's very passionate about breaking down these barriers between marketing and strategies and rural business communities. And she is brilliant at this. She is all things rural marketing and local marketing. And there are some wonderful things about her, and I will post all of the links to her website and all of those things. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is her local marketing meetup group, because she has a really cool thing like that. And Amy, welcome again. Oh my
Hi.
gosh. I'm just going to own this one. This was definitely my error, and but that was fun conversation we have. So let's kind of do a little bit of that we just talked about.
Sure.
And there's this question I want to ask you before we really dive into all of this, is because I think some people feel that local marketing means only working with businesses in your local geographic area. And then some people think that local marketing means that you can work with any business in any city that has a local audience. So, can you start by help us clarify what it means by local marketing?
Absolutely. So, it's weird. It's like we just had this conversation. So,
Deja vu.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. Local marketing for me is I whittle it down to one word, which is relationships. And local marketing can be where you are working with people that are closest to you in your office. For me, that would be Wharton County in Texas. But for other people, it could be focusing on a target audience that's within a certain geographic location of another business, of a client's business. And that can translate to online, to digital. It could also be in person, face-to-face conversations and relationship building. But it kind of whittles down to zooming into what a local geographic area and the people that audience within that area, what they need, what their needs are, what their problems are, and how you can best serve them with whatever your product or service is.
Yes, so it is like a combination of this thing, and it's what your focus is. And I agree with all of that. And what's interesting about local marketing also is that people, when they hear the term local marketing, they think rural marketing too. And so there is, that preconceived idea, but it doesn't have to be that way, right?
Right. So, yes, for us, we do specialize in serving rural clients, mostly moms and pops. But your local marketing can take place in a bustling downtown city, or city of a downtown of a large city. It all has to do with kind of that community feel, the people you're serving nearby, and knowing what their pain points are, and how you can best reach out to them and serve them.
That's great. All right, so let's dive in again to these questions. And oh my gosh, I feel like I got a private consultation from you while we were having our own conversation without going live. There was some wonderful things that you talked about, but you can just, do the main points of these things. But it's really important for people to understand the actual things that an agency can do marketing to a local audience, their local geographic audience. So tell us about some of the things you do to develop those relationships. And by the way, I just want to say, the relationships is a theme for February in Social Media Pulse community. And so that's why we're starting with this, because to my mind, that local marketing component is built on relationships. And so I want to hear some of the things that you do to develop relationships in your community. And tell us also about that local marketing meetup group, because that's really important.
Sure. And as I go along, if there's something you remember from the first time around, let me know and
Okay.
I'll cover it again. But yeah, overall our strategy has been and a strategy that I often recommend to other agency owners or freelancers is putting in the time and energy to get out in your community, first to just be present for other events. So this isn't an event that you have to put on. There's not a lot of scheduling and management of the event, and you just show up. So we go to things like ribbon cuttings, to like lunch and learn type events. Anytime there is something going on in the community, even if it's after hours, we it could be as simple as me going to the local farmers market on the weekend and just making myself visible and shaking hands with people and getting kind of on the ground level with everyone else, and kind of, a pulse check, if you will, of what people are doing locally. And you could really learn a lot from that. It's like we say with media online, you don't want to just blast out promotional material all the time and be selling, selling, selling. You have to kind of that give and take. And for me, we mostly give, which is showing up at those events and being present. Whether or not I'm going to make a sale that day, it's going to be me giving my time and my energy to be present in the community. But also, going when I go to these events, not seeing it as just a networking opportunity or a sales opportunity. I see it really as a conversation. I think what I like to do is ask these questions and do a little bit of qualitative research in these groups of people and ask them things like, how is business going? And not in the way that we normally would ask people, how's the weather? What do you think about the Super Bowl or things like that? But I not just for small talk, but to genuinely ask people like, what was your biggest struggle last year? What's something, what tools do you use in your business? And that not only shows that I genuinely care for how these small businesses are doing, but it gives me a lot of information that I can kind of put in my knowledge bank and then use whenever I am working on my own messaging or coming up with topics for my upcoming marketing meetups. On that topic, my marketing meetups are a monthly event that we host here in our brick and mortar location. I used to do them years ago. Whenever I had a home office, I would do them at a local coffee shop. They had a back room with a large table, and I would host like 12 of us back there. And it grew so many relationships for me. I didn't even know my local area had a private school. When I first, I had lived here for 4 years and I didn't know there was a small private school or education option. One day, the admissions director from that school came to one of my marketing meetups. Now my kids have been at that school for 5-6 years at this point. So it opens up like not just personal, but then, all these good business relationships. Now that I host it in a brick and mortar location, I have anywhere from, sometimes it's 6, depending on the weather and other events going on. I might have a nice quiet session with 6 people. We might have up to 18 people. And it's a very casual, kind of like a group consult environment where we sit around my conference table and we pull up chairs. My office, my studio is very open concept, and so everyone just pulls up stools and chairs and we just hash out whatever issues we're having in marketing and business at the time. um, what I try to do is every month announce a topic, like a focus topic, or sometimes it's a social media platform. We'll talk about TikTok, which getting local business owners to in my local rural or my rural area is like pulling teeth. But I tell them, I'm not forcing you to use it. I just need you to know what it is and how it affects the way people expect content to be presented everywhere else. And so I'll announce the topic, they'll show up for the topic, but once we work through all the latest happenings on online and any trends, like we talk about things like Pantone's color of the year and how it impacts, and talk a little bit about color theory, and then we talk about whatever that monthly topic is, but then I open it up for Q&A. So I like to think of it as kind of a like I'm Geek Squad, but not for tech. I'm for marketing or for small business. And they could just, whatever questions they have, bring them to me. We'll hash it out in front of everyone, because whether they think so or not, a lot of them are having the same issues. They're just too afraid to ask. And so we do a lot of having good conversation. And what happens over time is these wonderful people that I'm able to meet, they know other people with businesses. Down the road, they want to start a new business, and they remember Amy's the one that gave me all this information. She pours into her community. She is knowledgeable, and it just sticks in their mind. And so over the years, people know to come talk to me and talk to Capiche if they have any questions about marketing their business.
That's great. There again, there's so much in there that I would love to tease apart, but I just want to mention that this conversation that we have inside the community a lot about that whole idea of selling, and people they don't like to be put in that position, even if they have a small agency. And your whole approach to marketing is in service. It's like you are giving to the community, but in that giving, you are receiving that social authority, that people know that you know what you're talking about. So that act of giving, and it's only once a month, and it's a tremendous service that you do for the community. I imagine that there have been through time lots of new clients this way, and not necessarily through the people who are sitting in the chairs, because they're going to talk about you to other people and bring other people into the conversation. So I just want to make sure that everyone sees the ticker at the bottom. If you're interested in continuing this community conversation, you can go there and we will answer questions there also. But if you're watching on the social somewhere, if you happen to be finding us even though we started a little late, you can ask us on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're seeing things, and we're happy to answer the questions. So now, that was great. All those great ideas to have outreach into the community through the chamber and through your own monthly meetings and things like that. But there must be some challenges with this. What's one thing that really doesn't work, or that you found that through time doesn't really work?
Yeah. So I think one, well, we've kind of already talked about the relationship part of it, like knowing how to work with people, trying to hash out the different types of personalities. So whenever you're talking to a big group of people online, sure, the comment section can get a little hectic, but when you're asking people from your local community to come, you're going to have like competitors sitting next to each other. You're going to have people trying to, you know, I don't know, like monopolize the conversation sometimes. And so what I like to say is, like, I'm a little bit of a psychologist sometimes. I feel like it might be a therapy session, because I mean it can be, because you're managing relationships. I feel like I've just said relationships so many times, which is a testament to local marketing, I think, but you have to manage the personalities and relationships that are attending your events. And even if it's not an event, if it's which organizations am I going to partner with within the community? Because it's not just your reputation, but maybe there's a each one of these organizations have their own reputations. And so it's managing all those different, the politics of it, the relationships. I think scheduling and the timing of when things happen, finding the time to actually interact. I know even I have had the issue where I know how important it is to get out in the community, but sometimes I look at my calendar and I look back and it's been like 2 months, and I think, wow, I have skipped every local event for the last 2 months. Like, that's against everything that I believe in. But we just kind of get in, in a routine. And so it's making the time for these things, managing those relationships, and really knowing that the you can't really expect a payoff of all this, of knowing. I think you could get it in your head that, man, I went to 5 events in the last month, and the my cash flows don't reflect that. And it's kind of getting over that mental hurdle that it's investing long term in your business and your reputation, and in all these relationships that are going to grow. So like the seed you plant today, you won't be enjoying the fruit tomorrow. It's going to be a while, but yeah, it's a lot of those things. And then I think every person that goes out in their community and works with people, like just like working with clients, you're going to have very nuanced issues that come up, and managing yourself through those and not getting discouraged is a big part of that.
Boy, that again, all of these are great points, and especially for someone who might consider themselves a people person, is the way I like to describe that. They're naturally drawn to networking with people. They have to have that level of psychology and understanding of personality and different things like that to be able to come into a local community and keep their reputation where they want it and still have clients that come in and not have a lot of those things clash. So we talked a little bit before about those qualities you look for in a business, in a local business. Can you talk a little bit about how you decide if a company kind of has those things in place?
Yeah. So, for some people, it might be these like red flags that come off for certain clients. For us, what I've learned over time is, um, the clients that are least likely to have the red flags are clients that have some core values, or even if they're not written on paper, you could kind of feel them out as you have conversations with them. Core values that are in alignment with our own or with my own. And so for us, since our mission and my personal mission is all about rural business and rural business community amplification, that that means I work with clients that are also involved in their communities, that want to be, if they're not already, that want to be involved in their communities, or they at least have an understanding of their greater role as a business and in a community. So, if I were to have a client that came in and it just sounded like they were all about like their business, and people need to buy my product or people need my service, and it's just a one-way kind of transaction. And I usually try to bring up the conversation of community and how they fit as a puzzle piece into the bigger picture of their rural community. And if there's a real hard disconnect there, it's usually not a good client fit. So for me, I need clients that are also invested in their community, because the way it works for us is our clients are extensions and ambassadors of our larger mission. I get to, in a way, all the things I pour into my clients, I like to see them as like my little tendrils. Like I'm my mission and vision for building up rural communities is pushed through these clients, and then they kind of, through client education and through better strategy for their own business, they're able to build up these stronger communities. And so for me, it's finding clients that are in alignment with those values.
That's great. So I mentioned before we went live this whole thing about agencies really need to have that figured out in order to attract and keep clients that kind of mesh with their overall feelings about things, and I think you've got that all sorted out. Sometimes new agencies, they just want any client in any way, and they figure out they can develop a strategy for them no matter what they do or what they stand for. And I think that eventually through time they probably have to look at their own core values and make sure their clients align with that, and that makes them stronger in their business and also their mission and also their effectiveness in what they want to do in this world. So I think that's awesome that you've got that sorted. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about is you are getting some major degrees with all of this too. Can you tell us about your educational journey in the past few years?
Sure. So it is one heck of a coffee table book. So I have starting at the beginning, I actually left before finishing my bachelor's degree in 2009. My not yet husband was in the military. He was he was deployed to Afghanistan. So I had that going for me. I had personal things like my father was very sick, and so it was at the same time I was trying to start my own business as like just a business consultant for my local moms and pops, and I was 21 years old, so I had no idea what I was doing. But I was 2 years into my bachelor's degree. It was just too much for me. I dropped out, and I used to have the worst time saying that. I would say like, I had to put my education on pause. No, I dropped out of of college. But within the last 2 years, I have gone back. I finished, now that I've built a business, it's something that's always been very important to me to invest in, even though I have the practical knowledge, investing in the academic side and the theory side of things, which has been the most incredible thing. I could do a 1 hour talk just on that. But I finished my bachelor's degree, and I then got accepted last year, December. I got accepted to the Jones Graduate School of Business at Rice University, and I'm an MBA candidate there now. I'm in my second year. I should graduate in December. I'll be finished this October and then graduate in December. It's been just an incredible journey. I have peers that they work for SpaceX. I have peers that are working high up in Chevron and Amazon, and it has just been the most incredible experience for me to work alongside these people, but also to just learn that there is so much passion and creativity out in the business world, where in my mind, an MBA school was, was going to be this very just like sterile and strict environment that was not as fun and creative and inspiring as it is. So I'm having a great time, and my goal is then to get into a PhD program. I just recently made it kind of public, and I did it more for accountability than anything. But I am officially launching my research into rural business communities and how better marketing strategies put into place or executed by small micro businesses, when they are taking the time and care and effort to put thought into their marketing strategies, that the economic outlook of that community as a whole is impacted in a positive way. And yeah, so I'm very excited because there's not a whole lot out there, not a lot of resources, not a lot of research into that topic. And so I'm just very excited to hold myself accountable and get out there and start doing the research, and then to present it and hopefully move on toward a PhD in either organizational behavior or IO psychology, instead of the marketing route. But it's because I see rural business communities as organizations, and I find the more I learn about organizational behavior and industrial psychology, it applies to these local communities. It's, the way they behave, the way they interact, the way teams and groups form. It's very similar to how groups within corporate organizations work. And so I'm really interested to dive in more to the psychology behind that.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to calling you Dr. Amy. So
Yeah.
let's all make that happen. I think that's great, and I love that you talk about this online. And I wonder if your local marketing clients appreciate the amount of time and effort you're putting into your education, which helps them tremendously because all that information really informs how you develop marketing strategies or even the ways that you work with a business from that viewpoint.
Right.
So thank you for all of that. Now we're going to do something really fun. Not that this has not been fun. It's always fun when I get to talk to Amy.
Yeah.
But
Double the fun. It has
double the
been
fun.
double the fun.
For fun, I asked Chat GPS GPT Playground, not the regular one, but the Playground, this particular question, and it spit out a bunch of things. And we're going to do a lightning round because we
Okay.
are about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. So I asked the Playground this question. What are 10 questions to ask a local marketing agency on why they prefer to work with local businesses instead of, maybe international online ones? So here's the first question it said. So, lightning round, here we go. What advantages do local businesses have over online businesses?
Relationships.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
it. In a nutshell, that's exactly it.
Seriously. Yeah.
That's great. And it's true. It's very true.
Yes.
It's very, and just to take a pause here, because an online business can only interact online with someone. And there is some internal like barriers to that, like personalities don't come across, vibes don't come across as well, but if you're sitting in a chair next to somebody at a local restaurant, you definitely have that relationship.
And you could simulate some of that stuff with like online communities, but there ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. So yeah.
All right, number 2, how does working with local businesses benefit your agency?
Well, word of mouth referrals that has really sustained us and allowed us to grow as fast as we did, because those personal relationships are, a lot of people are not posting online, on locally we do a lot of Facebook, so they're not posting online. I have this problem in my business, how do I solve it? Because they're either, there might be some shame tied to it, or they're not certain people will have that kind of answer. They can ask who can do their plumbing, but they don't want to post online like who can help me better figure out who my customers are.
Yeah.
So those conversations don't always happen online. They're happening when like it's girls' night and you're talking to your friend, or after church around the coffee bar, things like that, where people are talking about who do you use for this? This is the problem I'm having.
Yes, that's exactly it. Perfect. So, what strategies do you use to help local businesses succeed? I know we could talk about this for an hour, but what's like one main thing that you can think of?
It's all about empowerment and education. So
There
the biggest thing, and part of our mission, which we really haven't talked about, but is most of my clients come to me not thinking they're deserving of a brand identity, or they come to me not understanding that like, the impact that having written down customer avatars or buyer personas, how impactful that is for their messaging and for their consistency. So once I could convince them that their tiny small business is deserving of big corporate marketing strategy, without the corporate marketing budget, then we're golden. So it's empowering them, building them up, and then once they have the pride and ownership of their marketing strategy, like nothing can stop them.
That's awesome. That's gold again. So much gold in this thing. So, how does your agency, and remember, this is still from Chat Playground here, how does your agency use local marketing to reach customers? So, we've talked a little bit about your marketing meetups and things like that. Talk about these chamber events.
So chamber events, that is, not just showing up to things like ribbon cuttings. Early on, when I had a lot more time to give, I volunteered to sit on committees, like a destination tourism committee with our local chamber, and gave some advice there. But also, it's just making the introductions. So walking into the local chamber, shaking hands, meeting the person, understanding what are some examples of things you could come to that person for? Most of these places, they want to be helpful as well. So you're not just going to them, letting them know you could offer them something, but leaning on other people is a good way for them to feel comfortable leaning on you in the future. And then same thing with like local clients. We're lucky enough to be located on a historic downtown square in our town, and I regularly walk door to door and literally like the dozen or so businesses and say, "Hey, how's business?" Shaking hands and being literally a part of my community, making my presence known not just online but in person.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate that in you and how you're willing to go and do that. A lot of times, those of us who grew up with online marketing, we've sort of lost that ability to be a real human in a human environment. So that's beautiful. What is what's something that your agency uses to create effective local marketing campaigns? Like what, in terms of your clients, what are some things that they do in the community that develop relationships and build their business?
Um, Developing relationships and building their business.
Like, do
Um,
they sponsor like local events? Do they, things like that?
yeah. So two of the biggest pieces of a strategy that I recommend to my local clients is yes, getting involved just the same way. It's kind of that my values or your values kind of thing. It works for Capiche, so it will also work for your business. Not in a one size fits all strategy, but I expect businesses to be, show up at fundraisers. That doesn't mean you have to give a bunch of money or donate, but maybe, your company sponsors the trash pickup after the event, or, doesn't matter what it is, but even just being there, being visible in your community, and putting in the time just like we do to be available to the people in your community.
Yes, I think that's really important to make sure people know who you are instead of the elusive person who recluse who never goes out. But it is funny when I do go out, people know who I am, which is even weirder. But it is fun to do those local events. So I want to conclude this whole thing because some of those questions were developed by AI. I want to hear your thoughts on this infatuation we have right now with AI is going to impact local marketing and local relationship marketing. Like how does all this AI, all these new AI tools impact all of that?
Yeah, I've just started having some of these conversations with clients about how they might be able to use it in the future. And the biggest thing is and you might see a lot of these streams like our threads on Twitter that's like 100 prompts to use Chat GPT as your online assistant or something like that.
Yeah.
There are certainly ways that you can feed it the right prompts to use it as a resource for things like writing copy, to even put together. I've been testing a lot of like, my product is X. The problem it solves is this. I'm located in this kind of area where the problem for most people is this. Come up with 3 customer avatars to be used in marketing efforts, and it spits them out. And I'm telling you, it's saying, this is Rachel. She's 20 to 34 years old, and she's a single mother, and she, goes to school part time, and her pain points are this, this, this. And it's like, for me, it's been such a relief because there's a lot of these more creative writings tasks that I have the knowledge in my head. I just don't have the energy to put it to paper.
Yes.
And even though I have to proof and I want to double check it to make sure it makes sense, there's a lot of that more mundane legwork that can be done. And I think it's the same for a lot of our rural businesses that are running a business completely on their own, and they're like, I need to put together a press release. I have no idea how to write a press release. And if you could just put the facts together in bullet points and ask AI to put together a press release for you, we've even tested that out, and it's been pretty good.
I know I'm finding great success with doing it. And it is true, it's all about the prompts. And I
Right.
do think there's an opportunity for people to build a business to build correct prompts for people because even coming up with that is very important. I hear my clock is giving me a 2-minute warning. And so I appreciate you so much, and thank you so much for everything that you've provided to everyone today. I'm going to try and capture some of the things that you've said and some of the things we said offline before we went live and present it to the community. I just want to tell everyone again that if you would like to continue this conversation about local marketing and local relationship marketing, we're doing that inside of Social Media Pulse Community, and that's where you can find it. And you can always reach out to me or to Amy anywhere on all the socials, and definitely ask us any questions about any of the things. Amy is very generous with her time and expertise, and I appreciate that in you so much. So, is there anything you'd like to end this on in terms of relationships? Since this is a month, we're really working on relationships inside the community.
One thing I talked about, I think the first time around that I missed the second time was, um, even though it is such a great investment, it's so wonderful to do all these things, to also don't spread yourself too thin. Be aware of boundaries. Sometimes being the person that likes to, which I know, Phyllis, you just finished saying Amy is very generous with her information or with her knowledge, which I try to be. But sometimes when you're the person, the go-to person for one-off answers, for you're known for being helpful, you run the risk of being the person that for a time we had an issue here in our office where people would just pop into the office and make eye contact with me, and it was over for the next hour and a half, because they were like, there's Amy, she likes to answer questions. And so just be mindful. You do have to, when you're doing that give and take, there has to be balance. You have to have some kind of SOP for when to do it, how much time to dedicate to it, and really stick to it.
Yes, brilliant advice, and very experienced advice in this whole area. So again, thank you so much for your time and your expertise in all of this. And I'll be seeing everybody inside the community. And thank you very much, Amy. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. It was a great time.